How Slavery Passes for Fatherhood. Alan Millard, men's equality advocate. The common denominator isn't always evident, but is necessary in breaking down and figuring out an equation. Labor is a commodity that has been used to build society. It's the most costly of all expenses in business. When labor is cheap, profits soar. Slavery is an example of this lucrative arrangement, but of human ownership and exploitation for unethical capitalistic gains. The human element is exempt from the equation. Real value is often masked by a facade covering what lies within. Through the course of converting our natural human resources to government currency, money, is what eventually, with the help of misandry, led to the ability to sever the direct link of family to men. Prior to money, men's assets directly linked to their ability to provide were personally attached to the resources they secured, to them as individuals. As with the female's assets, the only way to receive them was to be in direct contact. To reveal the cause of the problem, we must dig out the common denominator. For example, the sustenance and what is tangible and attached to one's person. As a past remnant of the trade to currency conversion process, credit was only a few decades ago considered a bad thing, in which case you had more financial integrity if you had everything paid off. You didn't have credit. You didn't know anyone. Credit and IOUs didn't count for much other than financial debt and failure. As government currency was originally backed by gold coin by the government, a man's labor was also attached to him in a genuine state too. Sort of similar. Until equal employment opportunity was implemented, men retained their exclusive assets, which ironically women still continue seeking men now, a lesser pool from which to choose now than before. As a common means of exchange, government currency was developed, replacing trade. It bound people to serving a common master, restricting a free exchange of goods outside the government's interests and control. The person was no longer directly attached to the skill or labor performed and assets secured. The love of money soon replaced the love of the father. In converting male assets to finances, government currency allowed slavery, in effect taking away the direct in-person value of men as well as fathers with their own children. This also applies to men paying alimony with no reciprocal female asset exchange. Nothing else but money, government currency, is even counted towards providing for children, yet children do not eat money. They eat what the fathers would secure for them to eat directly in the past. Again, the common denominator is masked. The resourceful father originally provided food from his skills as a hunter or as a farmer or maybe as a builder in trade for food or other valuable supplies needed to survive, such as coal, firewood, lumber. In addition, the child is no longer allowed to be involved in this process to learn from the father. He or she is not given and receiving these goods directly by and in the presence of the father, but deprived the opportunity to learn the same skills from the father's influence allowed him when he was a developing child to acquire them in the process of becoming an adult. There's no attachment or bonding that takes place. This includes his personal expression and talents applied to certain tasks performed. Thus, a major part is now missing from humanity that attached one person to sustenance. A child learned through love, affection, and appreciation, often developed through this process to become a healthy and capable adult. Persistence, resilience, and resourcefulness were valuable traits acquired in such character development. This attachment being replaced by money is also evident in personal values applied to gift exchange, when in the past a homemade item had more value, a real person / character attachment, than something bought from the store. Things we received at Christmas or on our birthdays and other special occasions definitely apply to this character trait and this entity that's now lacking in our society. Tools and other valuable items handed down from one's father were personally attached in the same way, often with first-hand demonstrations in their proper usage as a part of the gift-giving process. I recall my own grandfather telling me during his demonstration of this to have the hammer or saw do most of the work rather than you as the owner user of the tool. I bought this tool to have it work for me, he said. I recall him telling me this as he demonstrated the glide of the saw and leverage applied to how to strike and where to grasp the hammer. Now the father is not only exempt, but exploited for the mother by the government financially using the child as a token to do so. Extort money while it detached from the father's personal identity / existence, supported by his forced absence. He only exists, in other words, as a pawn and a tool himself. In his absence, his forced absence, there's no attachment to him at all. As a person, as a loving parent, a child of the past got to experience the love directly from the father through the resources he provided, instead of through his absence by money, government currency, extorted from him and given to the mother, absent of his connection to his children. The process that developed good character, a better life, and higher quality of people is now extracted from our human existence. A sense of accomplishment is important in a child's development to adulthood. But if shared with one's parent, to include bonding and attachment, it is much more complete. When fathers are ruled out of their children's lives and required to pay more money because of it, we are not only enforcing slavery, but the combined deprivation of fathers' love of their children and their children's love of their fathers, as well as a very valuable developmental process. A child develops better under this arrangement and environment. When living in a house, what provides the character? The house or the people living in it? It's the people, right? It's a mother, father. This same concept applies to a father and what he provides, but now with his person plucked from the scene, taken from the equation, house, children, and family environment. Although one does not need to be religious to accept a sound concept followed by many, it is our Heavenly Father and His love looked at with money in mind? No. Why then is not the same concept applied to all fathers and their children? If you look into history, we will find, strangely enough, that even slaves had their families intact on plantations where they were provided living quarters and their own families. In some ways, fathers now have it much worse.